What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from Cigar City Brewing, and they're out of Tampa, Florida, and this is their Maduro Brown Ale. So they're calling this one a brown ale that is brewed with flaked oats. It comes in at 5.5% alcohol by volume, 20 IBUs at the time of review. This can is just over 3.5 months old. So full disclosure, I've had this one before a couple of different times. First time I had Cigar City stuff, it was basically this along with High Life, which is like their flagship IPA, and Florida Cracker. I wanted to review High Life for a while now, but here in the Western New York area, I haven't been able to find like relatively fresh cans of High Life. Most of the time, they're like, 4 or 5 months old. Even the new stove pipe cans, the 19.2 fluid ounce cans, I can't really find them all that fresh. So once I find a relatively fresh can, let's say 2 months old or fresher, I will definitely review that. In the meantime, I thought I'd pick this one up. This is one of the shelfy beers I'm reviewing in the month of January 2024, and yeah, I'm here for it. So again, this is a brown ale. On their website, they say it's more of an English brown ale. It's brewed with flaked oats, so is it like an oatmeal brown ale? I don't know. Anyway, let's crack this one open and get in the glass. They do have a spiel on the back that I'll hopefully remember to read. If not, just kind of talks about tasting notes, but I don't want to be influenced, so we're just going to pour this one in the Westbrook glass and go from there. Ooh, pretty aggressive, but it looks beautiful. Anyway, put this over here. Now, full disclosure, for the second time, I'm not a huge brown ale guy, but if I had a choice between American brown ale or an English brown ale all day. I like it's a little bit more malt forward. I like the malt characteristics out of English brown ale. So that looks beautiful. On camera, it's probably going to look like a nice picture perfect brown ale. In person, it's more ruby red with like hints of brown. It's almost like chestnut. Has like a chestnut color. The head had 2 fingers of a straight up khaki colored head, almost into like a darker tan. It has some bigger bubbles, smaller bubbles, but it looks quite creamy. It looks frothy, dare I say. But yeah, it looks really nice. It has a nice murkiness to it. There's a very fine carbon or very fine particulate. There's a decent carbonation because I think there's an etching that promotes the carbonation here. But yeah, anyway, looks, again, as a brown ale goes, I think it looks really nice. Let's get a nose. Yeah, exactly what I expect. So there's a lot of caramel and toffee. There's a nuttiness here. A touch of like a chocolate and a coffee. Very malt driven, malt forward. A nondescript like earthiness from the hops. It almost has like it's almost like a more impactful like English mild. Because an English mild has very similar characteristics, at least in my experience, to this. But usually they're way lower in ABV, so very, like, extremely quaffable. Yeah, a little bit of like a toasted malt as well. It smells like a picture perfect fucking English brown ale. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Again, I don't love the style, but this is a nice brown ale. It's like a finishes really nice. It has a distinct nuttiness on the finish that's almost like the husk of a nut. Like there's a dryness. Buying this lower side, medium approaching medium, 5.5%, that's fine. The mouthfeel, yeah, it has an effervescent kind of quality to it, but the oatmeal brings a nice smoothing creaminess to the mouthfeel. The nose pretty much carries over the taste right up front. Tons of malt. There's caramel, there's toffee. There is a little bit of like molasses, faint hints of like a cocoa powder. There's a little bit of like a light coffee roast as well. It has an underlying toasted bread quality to it. Or maybe more of like a toasted biscuit than anything. As it continues on through the palate, get a little bit like a touch of a fruitiness, like again, an orchard fruit, like an apple. Maybe like a dark fruit too, like maybe a slight hint of like a fig or a raisin or something. On the finish, this is a greatly balanced beer too. It finishes semi to full on dry with a mild to maybe a touch over mild bitterness. There's more dry than bitter. This is approaching full dryness. So yeah, this is very rich and malt driven at the beginning of the palate and through the vast majority of the palate. But it does balance out on the back of the palate with that dryness. That's like again, the finish is dry. It has like again a nuttiness to it, like a husk from a nut, like that kind of dryness. And there's a little bit of nuttiness on the back of the palate. I would say, maybe like an almond or something. Maybe a walnut. There's a distinct earthiness too, probably from the hops. Put it this way. I have to be honest with my reviews, and honestly, as a shelfy fucking brown ale, this is pretty good. I understand why this is on the shelf. I really do. I don't love brown ales. I like the flavors in this, but there's just something about a brown ale to me I just don't necessarily love. Like, again, personal preference, right? I've had a lot of different brown ales, American brown ales, English brown ales, hoppy brown ales. It's just a style that doesn't resonate with me, but I would be lying to you if I said that this isn't for an English brown ale, especially from an American brewery, especially from a shelfy brewery at this point. It's fucking extremely well done. Like, it really is. Are there better brown ales out there? I'd imagine so. I'm not a connoisseur of brown ales whatsoever, but I think the flake oats really help out the mouthfeel. I think the flavors are nice. I think it's very well balanced. This is a very quaffable, drinkable, sessionable brown ale that I could get behind. So, Maduro Brown Ale from Cigar City. We'll do 2 ratings, personal preference and stylistically. Stylistically, honestly, for again, an English brown ale, shelfy, is like a 4.6, 4.65. Like, this is fucking great, right? My own personal preference, I'm going to go substantially lower, but probably one of the higher brown ale ratings I'll give. This is a high 4 out of 5. This is 4.1. Like, listen, I mean, this is 3.5 months old too, and they say, drink on the back, drink fresh, do not age, and it's almost 4 months old, and it's still really good. So yeah, this is a really good beer. They do have a spiel. We'll read it real quick. It's on a couple sentences. It says, named after a dark cigar wrapper. Yeah, of course. It says Maduro Brown Ale boasts notes of semi-sweet chocolate. I would say more of like a cocoa powder. Yeah, but yeah, I'm all right with that. Toffee, yes, and hints of fresh coffee. Yeah, complex and full-bodied. Full-bodied maybe for 5.5%, but not as a beer. Our malt-forward ale is brewed with flaked oats to add depth of character. Yeah, I mean, very generic, but at the end of the day, they're not far off from what I was tasting. So price point availability, here's where being a shelfie, it's great. $10.99 6-pack in my area. You might even be able to find it cheaper in yours, maybe a little bit more expensive in other areas, but like $11 for a 6-pack of this, less than $2 a can. If you like brown ales, like, yeah. And then availability, it's Cigar City. They get into a bunch of different states at this point. Go to their website, check out their beer finder. I think they have one. If not, if you do get Cigar City stuff, you should see this one. This is like one of their flagship beers along with the aforementioned High Lie and the Florida Cracker. I think they have a couple others, but this is a beer that I always see when I go to the beer store, like every single time. And this time I was just, you know what, I'm going to grab it. And again, for a brown ale, for a shelfie brown ale, this is really fucking good. I cannot overstate that. Like, it's a really fucking good brown ale. There's not much more to say about it. So if you've had this one before, and I'm sure a lot of you have had this one before they were purchased, many, many years ago. I'm sure a lot of folks will say this was better back in the day, and who might argue? Maybe it was, but it's still really good now. Plain and simple. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by. 5.5%. You can't even taste it. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Till the next one. Cheers.